Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reddit Reads. This is episode 3, which is going to be glitches in the Matrix. So just stories from people of Reddit of just strange coincidences and occurrences that don't have a reasonable explanation. Hope you guys enjoy, and thanks again for tuning in.
My husband and I drove through Mississippi, and I think we fell through some kind of vortex. My husband and I are newlyweds. We went to Florida for visit family and drove back north Friday afternoon evening towards our home in northwest Missouri. To clarify, we were driving towards Tunica for the night to break up the 17-hour drive and get some sleep at a fun hotel. Somewhere around Jackson is where things started to get weird. Our GPS took us on a shortcut off the highway. As the sun was setting, we went through a town called Vaden. This was maybe 7:30 or 8. I remember telling my husband the town had a haunted vibe, or just some bad energy, and he agreed. We kept driving as the sun went down, and things got very rural. Please understand, my husband and I are from rural Missouri and have lived across the country in some spooky places, including Atchison Cays, if you believe in the Devil's Portal or whatever. We are very used to being on a dark stretch of road at night. This was different than anywhere we've ever been. It felt like we were constantly turning in circles. For about 2 hours we were driving, and the gas gauge on our F-250 didn't move, like at all. Our truck is brand new and gets moderate gas mileage at best. We stayed at 3/4 of a tank exactly for hours. Typically we stop on a trip every 2.5 hours. Now, the power of suggestion. We kept talking about how this didn't feel right. Every few hundred yards we would see houses, but none of them had any lights on. My husband said that's strange. It almost seems like the highway is abandoned. More lights should be on at 8 p.m. Next house we pass, every light on. This happened multiple times. We would say we hadn't seen something in a minute, and that thing would appear. We barely saw any other cars, but the 2 times we did, we saw a string of 4 cars, exactly the same make and model, driving in perfect proportion to one another. Some kind of white SUV. Okay, maybe a coincidence? It happened again, like a glitch, just a few miles apart. We saw another car with its hazards on. The hazards turned off immediately after we passed them. My husband only saw a couple cars in the rear view mirror, but one followed us for a few miles. My husband described seeing it as a truck with LED lights one moment, and a sedan with amber lights the next. Then, back to being a truck with LED. This was all in the span of maybe 10 minutes. With no outlet for someone to turn off and get on again. At one point in the trip, we drove through a small town before getting back en route. This was maybe another hour in. At 9 p.m., we saw no people. Cars were moving and lights were on, but no one was outside. We didn't see anyone in fast food restaurants or out in parking lots. We thought nothing of it at the moment, but looking back, isn't that strange? There were also no animals, just a few bats. Being from a rural area, we keep an eye out for deer, raccoons, armadillos, or other critters when driving at night. We only saw one deer at dusk, and it wasn't moving at all. It seemed frozen. It was looking at us, but its ears didn't twitch. It don't run away. It just stood perfectly still. Its head was also really small, but maybe that's just the deer in Mississippi. Speaking of animals, we travel with our lapdog. He's a senior pup, and he's ridden on my lap all over the country. He couldn't seem to settle down on these back roads. He whined and shifted way more than usual. I think the biggest thing for me was the chills I had the whole trip. Like tingling instinct type chills. Time didn't seem like it was passing normally. We felt like we were in danger. As soon as we got back on the interstate, everything seemed normal again. Animals, people, other cars, the gauges in the truck, my uneasy feeling, all back to normal. Lights were on in businesses. People were outside. My husband, who is normally very unshaken, returned to his normal self. All of my texts came in at once. My mom texted me about 2 hours before, when the weirdness started, that she had a sinking feeling about me, and whatever I was doing, I needed to be safe. I called her and said for the last 2 hours she had a mother's instinct that something was just very wrong. I want to end by saying my husband and I are very practical people. He is in the trades, and I am an educator and caretaker. We both have traveled back roads of the country in all weather at all times completely fine. Sometimes a little creeped out by the darkness, but fine. Our truck is also almost brand new and works well on long trips. We have taken it on a road trip through another rural area recently in Kansas, and all the gauges worked. As a science teacher, I know the behaviors of flora and fauna well. While we are devout Christians, we are scientists and take a very level-headed approach to the supernatural. I believe God saved us from whatever vortex or ley line or something we drove through last night. Lastly, my husband and I acknowledge that we have both taken SSRIs in the past, but we would never harm ourselves or others. We love life. We went, though, a stretch of rural Mississippi where time and space seemed to turn in on itself. Too many coincidences. Do you know anything about this part of the country and paranormal activity?
Houses with no lights on. Dolores Cannon talks about this phenomenon in her books. You've temporarily crossed into another dimension parallel reality. She says it happens to us often. It's actually not unusual. And she also talks about people who have alien encounters and the deserted highway with houses, no lights figures in. I can tell you that I've driven home from work the same route each day, and there were 3 specific days where the lake I always pass was not there. That's a temporary cross into another dimension, according to Cannon.
I'll read more into her. That's how it felt. Like maybe we just passed through somewhere else for a little bit.
I live in Mississippi. This one time, my nephew and I were driving through town. We know the roads well. We went through a red light. A few moments later, we went through the same red light. We lost 10 minutes of time.
That's how it seemed. It felt like we were moving in circles.
I lived in Mississippi for the first 20 years of my life, and that's just how the rural areas are. Unsettling at night, for sure. I've experienced one-time distortion, where a 1-hour drive took less than 10 minutes. I've always chalked it up to a lapse in memory, because I had no recollection of passing the few landmarks that are on that stretch, but that explanation wouldn't apply to your experience.
Wrong timeline. I swear my kid and I have crossed into some kind of wrong timeline. Either she is in the wrong one or I am. There was a preview with something with Stanley Tucci, and my kids say, oh, I love him. However, they have told me time and time again how they do not like him. Same with Angelina Jolie. Just now they said how pretty she is, but before it was always they did not find her particularly attractive. Anytime I mentioned, I was attracted to her. Last thing, recently I was talking about how they used to watch Young Sheldon, and they are adamant that they have never watched an episode, but only clips. I need to see how I can get into the right timeline because I don't like this one.
I'm in the same situation. Mine started last summer solstice. Everything kind of fell apart in the span of a week. And since then, little details have been off. Last night, my son told me his favorite movie growing up was Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. He said we had to buy a second VHS copy because he wore the first one out. Not only do I have zero memory of this, I distinctly remember him being terrified of zombies and avoiding them at all costs.
There's no right or wrong timeline, and yes, you two can be in different ones.
Well, that was odd. I usually wake up each day around 6 a.m. On weekends, I normally just go back to sleep. But this weekend, I decided to just stay up. I was too lazy to make myself food, so I checked to see what was open close to me, and it said there was a Wendy's. So I ordered on the app, drove to the drive-thru, ate my breakfast, had a good day. That was yesterday. Today, I was driving and happened to see the Wendy's I got my food from. It's closed. Permanently. Signage taken down. And everything. I double-checked the address. It was the same one. But it's not in the app now. I checked online. It's been closed for 4 months. The empty bottle of orange juice and sandwich wrappers I got from there are still in my trash. My bank statement reflects a charge at that Wendy's. The address and store number are on the statement. The food was real, and it was good. The address is still stored in my GPS and reflects a trip there yesterday morning. So yeah, I am a little discombobulated here. Edit. In the thick plottins, I called Wendy's this morning, and it has been closed since January and has not been licensed to sell food since then, nor do they have any employees there anymore.
You've probably got a good case for getting that money back. Charge is coming from a closed location. In this timeline, they never fed you. They couldn't have.
What stands out to me is you said that you'd normally go back to sleep after waking up at 6 a.m. on the weekend, but this time you decided to just stay up for whatever reason. Matrix glitches are known to occur when you break a pattern, and people in general are very unlikely to get up when they have the option to go back to sleep. So I believe, by breaking a pattern, with no forethought you cause the matrix to glitch out. Other people have talked about this method of inducing glitches. Someone wrote a whole book about it that I haven't read, but in my experience, it doesn't work as well if you plan to glitch out the matrix by breaking a pattern. The matrix has some programming to account for that, I guess. Since you didn't even plan to break your own pattern, it might have caused a significant glitch. Maybe since you actually got up at 6 a.m., the matrix registered you as existing on a different day before the Wendy's closed. Maybe it was the same temperature as it was 4 months ago. Or you were wearing the same socks or something. Just a theory.
My first ever real glitch. Any glitch I've had in the past has been small, easy to brush off. But this is undeniable. I cannot come up for a logical explanation behind it. I have chickens, including this huge barred rock rooster. Has my biggest chicken, beautiful coloring, is missing his cone due to frostbite from this winter. Anyway, Friday, I found him dead. Not sure how he died, no blood, no visible injuries, just clearly died. I was sad because he was beautiful, but I got over it. Just to be clear, none of my other chickens look like him. Well, tonight, I am feeding them dinner, and there he is, walking around the pen, completely fine. No injuries, nothing. Still no cone. It's not like it's a different chicken. And it wasn't like he was sleeping. I picked up his dead body. I put him in a box them in the trash can. And then gone without food for 5 days. Just to end up completely fine in the chicken coop. I feel like I'm going completely crazy. I have no mental issues or anything like it. I've truly never experienced anything like it before. Update. So I looked in the trash, and the body was still there. Still him. Missing cone, same body, same pattern. I didn't have 2 of the same chicken. I feed them twice a day, every single day. I would know if I 2 of the same bird. This has only made me more confused, LOL.
There are many accounts of duplicating objects. This might be the first story I have heard of duplicating animals. The proposed theory of how this happens is that there is a localized intersection between parallel timelines. There may have been a small portal, for example, that was unstable, like a mini wormhole. Your rooster may have died when he stuck his head through, and the portal closed, dislocating his neck. When it opened, the rooster from the other timeline may have come through. It is quite possible your doppelganger on the parallel timeline is suddenly missing their rooster.
Everyone in the grocery store froze at the exact same time, reacting to something I completely missed. I don't know how to explain this properly, but something happened earlier today that didn't feel normal at all. I was at a small grocery store near my place, just picking up a few things. It was pretty quiet, with maybe 6 or 7 other people inside. I was just walking down one of the aisles when something incredibly strange happened. At the exact same moment, everyone else in the store stopped. Not gradually, and not one by one, all at once. A woman near the shelves froze mid-step. A guy holding a basket paused like he had just forgotten what he was doing. and even the cashier looked up from the counter. It only lasted for maybe a second, but it was very clear that they weren't just pausing randomly. They were all reacting to something. The weird part is that nothing actually happened. There was no loud noise, nothing fell, and there was no announcement. There was absolutely nothing that I could see or hear to trigger it. I kept walking, just a little slower, looking around to try and figure out what they had all reacted to. Then, just as suddenly as it started, everything went right back to normal. The woman kept walking, the guy moved again, and the cashier went back to what he was doing like absolutely nothing had happened. No one looked confused or said a word. It was like they all experienced something simultaneously, and I was entirely left out of it. I stood there for a few seconds trying to process it before going to the counter to pay. I almost didn't say anything, but I ended up asking the cashier if everything was okay. He looked at me like I was the one acting strange and just said, "Yeah, why?" I didn't know what to say after that, so I just left. But even now, I can't stop thinking about it. It wasn't just a coincidence. It was way too synchronized and exact. The timing was perfect. Has anyone else ever experienced a collective pause like this, where they were the only one unaffected?
I was an active participant in a situation like this. At a stop, and the light turned green, and everyone just sat there. It felt like a trance, like a group trance. Weird event, I'll never forget it.
Wow. Group trance is the exact phrase I've been looking for. That is perfectly how it felt in the store today.
I've seen this reaction of multiple people stopping and listening at once following a thunderclap. And it sounds like these people had that reaction but with no discernible noise or flash or anything. Could be a time glitch, or they really did all hear. See something jarring but normal, like thunder or lightning, but you were left out of it in the Matrix.
Okay, I'm not saying glitch in the Matrix, but the fact everyone reacted at the exact same time and you're the only one who didn't is low-key unsettling. Like either there was some tiny sound or light you didn't catch, or you just got temporarily excluded from whatever NPC script they were all running.
Alright, you guys, that concludes episode 3 of Reddit Reads. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.